Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to learn about what is Python. Python is a very important programming language in today's time. Python is a language that is being used quite widely to solve various kinds of problems. Python is classified as a programming language that has multi-paradigm options. That is, it offers multiple programming models. This language was invented by Guido van Rossum at a laboratory in Netherlands, and this was invented in the year 1991. In this video, we are going to learn about the various aspects of Python. That is, we will define what is Python. We will learn about the latest versions of Python. We will identify the typing systems of Python. We will also look at some of the major implementations of Python. We will also identify the various languages that has influenced this language, as well as the languages that have been influenced by Python. And lastly, we will also understand the programming perspective and style of Python. Python is an open source programming language, and this language has many characteristics. Some of the characteristics that this language has is it offers a multiple programming model style. That is, it is a multi-paradigm programming language. So we can say that it is a high-level, procedural, structural, and object-oriented programming language, in the sense that it has support for various programming models within itself. Python is also a language that is functional, imperative, and reflective in nature. These concepts are first-class concepts within Python, and specifically, I would like to highlight that Python is a functional programming language. When we say it is a functional programming language, functions are nothing but objects within Python. Python also has capability of a new paradigm, that is, it supports aspect-oriented programming, where we can incorporate cross-cutting issues. And with the help of this, we can develop more functional and robust applications. So these are some of the characteristics that Python has. Now let us also understand the other aspects of Python. Python is a programming language where when we compile the code, there is no byproduct that is generated, in the sense that if we compile the code of C++, it is going to generate a .obj file. But in case of Python, the file will have extension .py, and py is going to taken as an input by the interpreter, and it's going to execute the code dynamically. So we say that Python has support for dynamic typing. Dynamic typing in the sense that the data types will be identified at runtime. So since the code is not compiled, it is interpreted, Python is dynamically typed. There are many languages that are dynamically typed, like for example, Perl. Another example of this is Ruby, and one more example is JavaScript. These days, many softwares are developed using dynamic languages. Python is a prime example of a dynamically typed language. Another major characteristic of Python is that it is available on multiple platforms. That is, the code that we write is available to us on Windows, on Linux, on Mac, and on other operating systems as well. Because since it is dynamically typed, it does not generate any kind of output file. The code is highly portable. Hence, we can say Python supports cross-platform development plus migration of code across various platforms. Another major characteristic of Python is it is capable of supporting exception handling. That is, we can have structured exception handling supported within Python. With the help of structured exception handling, we can develop applications that are more safer, that are more reliable, and the mean time between failure of these applications is less. So we have constructs that are available within Python that allow us to incorporate SEH or structured exception handling. And it is a capability that extends on other languages. That is, over here in Python, we can also have conditions within our except. One more major characteristic of Python is Python has support for multi-threading. Multi-threading today is a very important capability that we incorporate in our applications. Using multi-threading, we can develop applications that can be more performance oriented, that can take advantage of the hardware and as well as other resources like memory, sockets, and so on. One of the major areas where multi-threading is used in applications that require quite a bit of interactivity. So interaction with the user can be incorporated using multi-threading. And one area for this is GUI programming. Another area where multi-threading can be used is in database applications. Multi-threading is very important if we are developing games, because games require deep interactivity, and through multi-threading we can take advantage of it. Another very important point that has to be noted is that in multi-threading we can develop applications where we can take advantage of the many CPUs or many cores on a CPU that are available. There are many more characteristics that Python has. One major characteristic of Python is it has support for sockets. Using sockets, we can develop applications that can talk to each other. One prime example of socket-based application in Python is BitTorrent. BitTorrent historically was developed using Python, and as we know, BitTorrent is one of the first-class examples of how we can develop a socket-based application. Another very important application of Python is we can use Python for development of graphics applications. We can develop GUI applications, and there are many frameworks that are available on Python that will help us to achieve it. Another area where Python is very widely used is in development of data-centric applications. So Python has support for ODBC, and using ODBC we can develop such applications. So these are some of the important characteristics of Python. Now let's move further and try to understand Python a little more. One of the objectives of Python is to emphasize code readability. Anyone who has done programming in C++ and Java will find Python to be far more simpler to program because of its very basic nature. So the major stress in Python is on code readability, and the syntax is far more simpler compared to other languages. And the output of this is we can write the same kind of application in fewer lines when we compare it with other languages. Now let us try to understand a little more about Python. There are two latest versions of Python that are available. The first one is 3.4 and the second one is 2.7. The 3.4 is known as Python 3000 and 2.7 is known as Python 2000. And both of these versions are getting developed in parallel. But at some stage, we will see that version 3.4 is going to be the main version and 2.7 will be retired in few years to come. But as of today, version 2.7 is more mainstream than 3.4. It was sometime in the year 2007 that the version 3.0 was released, and simultaneously even 2.4 was released. And thereafter, both of them are getting developed and they are enhanced. Now let us look at the typing systems of Python. Python has support for three kinds of typing, namely duck typing, dynamic typing, and strong typing. Duck typing is a capability wherein if I create an integer and try to use it as an integer, it will behave like an integer. So the idea is that if a duck is there, it will always quack. So we say that if we create a certain kind of variable and assign it some value, then it will behave like that value. So that is what duck typing is. Another kind of typing that is supported by Python is dynamic typing. Dynamic typing because Python is a dynamically typed language. And dynamic typing happens when the interpreter infers the type of a variable based upon what the value of the variable is. So if to a variable we assign I is equal to false, then I will become a boolean. If we assign I is equal to 35, then I is going to become a integer. And strong typing would mean to say that if a variable is an integer, it will ensure that it behaves like an integer. If a variable is a string, we cannot take that variable string and put it in a mathematical expression or an arithmetic expression. And if we do that, that will yield into an exception. And that is what is strong typing. Now let us understand some of the major implementation of Python. Python is one of the most widely used language today. And the reason for this is that Python is adopted by various systems. And various companies have developed different flavors of Python. Now, in this section, we will look at the various types of Python that we have. One of the major implementation of Python is CPython. Then we have PyPy, we have Jython. Jython is nothing but Python for the Java platform. So if we want to use the Java APIs within Python, then we can use Jython, and Jython is going to run on a JVM. We have IronPython. IronPython is an implementation of Python from Microsoft. And this flavor of Python runs on .NET. So we can combine Python API with the .NET API. In fact, Jython is available on Eclipse as well as IronPython is available on Visual Studio. Support for Python from Microsoft is very robust, and they have been incrementing IronPython for last many years. Some more popular implementation of Python are that we have a flavor of Python called as RPython. RPython compiles Python to bytecode and MSIL. We also have one more Python called as stackless Python, and we have a Python to JavaScript, and that is called as Pajamas. Now let us look at the languages that has influenced Python. There are many languages which have been inspiration for Python, and Guido van Rossum, when he invented the Python programming language, he had looked at different kinds of languages and looked at their weaknesses and strength and tried to incorporate the capabilities of those languages within Python. So Python has been influenced by many languages such as ABC, Algol 68, C, C++, Java, Lisp, Perl, Haskell. So these are some of the major languages that have influenced the growth of Python. And over here I would like to highlight Perl and C++. From Perl, Python has taken up the dynamic typing part, and from C++, Python has incorporated object-oriented development. And from Modula, it has incorporated functional programming. Python has also influenced many languages of late. Since Python was released in the year 1991, there have been many languages that have come after it that have been influenced by Python. Some of the languages that have been influenced by Python are F#, Go, Groovy, Swift, Ruby, D, JavaScript. And over here, I would like to mention about Swift. Swift is one of the latest languages that have come in the domain of programming languages, and using Swift we can develop applications for the Mac operating system. JavaScript is one of the premier languages today to develop applications to run on browsers as well as on server side. So Python had a considerable impact on JavaScript. Now let us look at the various ways that we can develop Python applications, or the programming perspective and style of Python application. So in Python we have a set of code, and if we follow that code we can develop our applications as per the Python style. So Python stresses on that the readability of the code is most important, and the readability part is emphasized by indentation. So the code has to be well indented. So this basically means beautiful is better than ugly. So code will be easier to read, and it is also part of Python way of programming where we say explicit is better than implicit, and simple is better than complex, and complex is better than complicated, and readability is at the highest level that the programmer has to consider when he does programming for Python. In this video, we have looked at various aspects of Python programming language. Python programming language supports many paradigms, and using these paradigms we can develop various kinds of applications. So we can say Python has support for many programming models like object-oriented, functional, structured, and so on. One of the major characteristics of Python language is that it is dynamically typed, that is, the data type is inferred at runtime. And this is because Python is not compiled but it is interpreted. And since it is interpreted, it is executed at runtime. And when it is executed at runtime, the variable type is inferred, and it stresses on readability of code. Python programming language has been impacted by many languages like C, C++, Perl, Java, and it has also impacted many languages like Swift, JavaScript, and Go.